Hey everybody, this is the video. Of course, we're gonna ask for those housekeeping rules. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Now, of course, we all know that liking that video is gonna not only gonna help me, but other content creators to get videos out, such as mine, out here in the algorithm. So please go ahead and like the video. It is free. Check your account. Ain't nothing coming out. It's free, free, free. All right, y'all. So I ain't gonna hold you. We're gonna get right into it. We're gonna get right into it. This season looks as though it's a carryover from the earlier parts, but we're getting on into um episode 14. And we're gonna start out that episode with going on, and we're gonna see Miss Brooke. Now we see where Brooke is visiting with her pastor. Um she said that she needs to talk to someone before making a big decision. She said this is the ultimate betrayal. Now, we learned that they had some transgressions going on, and I really, really feel bad for Brooke because, we seen in prior seasons of, previously that Brooke and Steve had been trying to, have a baby, look like everything was going good. And just when she thought that, couldn't get any better, she started feeling some type of way, which we're going to go into that a little bit more as we go and progress here onto the video. But, at this time, I'm really, really feeling bad for Brooke. I mean, no woman deserved to go through this type of pain. And she did the right thing, going to her pastor. Let's talk about it because she needs to know that whatever decision she makes, she want to make sure she make the right decision. Now, here we see where she was in confessional, and basically she's just saying that again, it was the ultimate betrayal. She feels as though he tore her family up to, everything. She thought that she had the one man that she was going to be with for the rest of her life. And now she is having to go through this. Going on, we see Jackie. Now, of course, Jackie is checking in with her hubby. He is a coach in the NBA, so he is traveling a lot. So right now they're just kind of getting into introducing everybody, not introducing everybody because everybody know who the basketball wives are, but just kind of going from character to character, just to, put everybody up to date with everything. We move on. We see where Duffy is coming downstairs, where she is having her son with his little handsome self take pictures of her and her beautiful daughter. Then we go on and we see where Jennifer is there at home with Jelani. They're planning on their little date or what they'll be doing for the evening. And basically she's asking him, is it a Gucci night? Pick a shoe. And he was like, I like the Gucci. She was like, okay, I can be a Gucci girl for the day. And then, of course, we then go on to where we are seeing where, pretty much from last season where Jen and Jelani met. It seems as though right about now they have been dating for maybe approximately, I want to say, give or take about 7 months based off of, the clips that they were showing. It's like they have been dating for like 7 months. She said that she went to the meat store and basically she went to the meat store a single woman, and she met the perfect gentleman. And she said that her and Jelani have been vibing ever since. You could see the glow in her face. You could tell that she is really, really feeling him. She said that, she has had her string of bad relationships. So, she was kind of apprehensive, but she is really feeling really good about what they have going on. So they do go on to say where they're going to go on to brunch. And it sounds like Jennifer is ready for wedding bells, honey. She is ready. So then, of course, we see where Malaysia meets up with Jackie. Um, so they are talking, kind of catching up. Malaysia then goes on to tell, Jackie some of the things that she's been going through, with her ex. But before we do all that, of course, she is saying that she would like to, she would like to, get in the swing of things again. She did go ahead and she did tell Jackie that her her ex had basically sent a cease and desist letter to her partners, which we know her partners is basically production, um, stating that he don't want to be talked about or discussed on the show. Now he is saying that, basically somebody came back and told him that she's discussing about the child support on the show. And she's just kind of wondering, like, who could it have been that would have told him that, given the fact that the show haven't even aired as of yet. So, you know, she goes on to talk about that. Then Malaysia also goes on to tell Jackie that, you know, she see that, her and Jason has a really good relationship. It's like she is the apple of his eye, and she loved that. And, she just, she wants to feel that again. And so they get the vibing, and basically we go on and just, basically we go on to see Brandy and Brooke and British. They all meet up at Brooke's apartment. Now, as we can see, Brooke has moved into her an apartment. She said that right now she just needs her space to be able to figure some things out. And she go on, everyone is asking her, how are you doing? She said she woke up really, really sad. You could tell she gets really, really emotional. Brooke goes on to, to say, you know, I had a feeling that something wasn't right. She said, I'm sorry. Brooke go on to tell them she had a feeling that something wasn't right in her marriage. One night he fell asleep and she decided to go ahead and check his phone. And she found text messages where he had been texting another lady. And basically, she woke him up and showed him, like, what is this? And he just sat there looking stupid. I guess at this point you can't really deny, black and white. She says she is trying to keep it together, and she is expected, she had really expected to be with him for the rest of her life. And she, at this point, she don't know what happened. She don't know where things took a turn, in their marriage. And she just don't know, if they could ever get things back together. So they asked her, what are you gonna do? She said at this point, I'll probably be getting a divorce. And, pretty much she kind of leave it there. We then go on to see Duffy in the studio. Duffy is saying how she has finally figured out the work life and the family balance. She's gotten it together. We knew that previously her and her spouse had been kind of, I'm not going to say at odds, but they hadn't been agreeing for the time that she wasn't able to spend at home with the family. So she's saying she's finally gotten to the point that she's getting a balance with that. She says she's more focused. She's taking more local gigs now, so she is able to be at home a lot more with her, with her fiance and her children. So that's good. We go on and we see where British actually joins Duffy at the studio. They sit down and they talk. British tells Duffy, how basically the probation officer is at our house like every Wednesday. Now we all know that British is right now facing federal fraud charges. She was indicted on those charges, and right now she's just kind of like waiting it out. But her probation officer is visiting her, weekly. And so she said it's been really, really hard. It's been really tough. But she just trying to, keep it together. She says she is in fear that she will have to, go do some time. And these are federal charges, y'all. So it's nothing really to play about. So I can understand her feeling the way she feels. So hopefully that'll work out for the best for her. They go into talking about Brooke. And basically, They talk about the things that Brooke is going through, and Duffy said that she want to have her party. She was like, she want to have her party, maybe have her some strippers. And British was like, well, you do know she's still married, right? And Duffy was like, oh, okay. So British was like, so who all are we gonna invite? Are you gonna invite Malaysia? And Duffy was like, yeah, most definitely. I'm gonna invite, Malaysia. At the end, Malaysia wind up calling Brandy, and for as far as she know, things were okay between them. So she asked her, she was like, well, basically, what do you feel that Malaysia has ever done to be a friend to anybody? Now, as we know, Malaysia and British haven't really ever really gotten along. I think British pretty much feels that Malaysia may think that she's a little bit better than them because, British explains that she's a little standoffish. She never wanted to talk and, share with the group of girls and things of that nature. So I want to say maybe she feels that, she just a little bit too much and she not sure about that. But we're gonna do all of this for Brooke. It's gonna be Brooke's night, so we're gonna give it a shot. We then go on to see where Jen and Jelani meet up with his parents. Now, y'all, this was so funny to me. And I don't know whether to take them serious or what, but the way they came at her, I was like, oh my God. So they meet up. Of course, Jelani bring his mother some flowers, which was really, really nice. So they sit down to talk. You could tell Gene was real nervous. Of course, they ordered some drinks. His parents said, "Okay, let's just get right into it." Especially his daddy, he was not playing. He was like, What is going with my son? Like, what's your intentions for my son?" Baby, he was not playing. Jen was like, can I get another drink?" I don't blame you, Jen, because baby, you is in for a long haul. They got to saying, his dad got to saying that they hadn't met that many girls, and being, I guess, that they're meeting her, that they know that this must be serious. The dad go into asking about children, talking about they want some twins. And Jen was like, waitress, about that drink. She like, I'm needing a whole bottle over here. And I ain't even, I was like, okay, they ain't hold back nothing. Jen was like, hold up, hold up, hold up. Like, they ain't playing with it. They was right into it, baby. They ready for some grandkids. They ready to go ahead. And the mama is ready to get her mother's dress, and daddy ready for the tuxedo. They, I was like, hopefully they playing right, baby. So they go on and they get, so we move forward. We go ahead and we see the ladies. They are meeting up for the party. And Malaysia, basically, let's see here. So basically, they meet up at for the party. Malaysia stated that she had mixed emotions about coming to the party. She said that she had been through so much with the ladies, but she figured if she went through a divorce, this couldn't be all that bad. So they all sit around, they talking, and lo and behold, we have Jackie. Baby, if Jackie ain't gonna do nothing, Jackie is gonna crank it up. Baby, let's get this party started. So she starts out by asking Jen, why you way over there? Come sit over here by us. And she was like, no. And you could kind of tell that, Jen was, didn't want to come over there because Malaysia was there. So British goes on in her confession. She was like, I don't know why Jackie is steady trying to push Malaysia up on people. She was like, why do she do that? And so, they continue to talk. We see then that Brooke and Brandy, they arrived. When they arrived, um pretty much you seen what Malaysia had said, that she hadn't spoke to Brandy since, you know, West Palm Beach. And we know that they were really, really close, but some things happened. And so she basically wanted, to have a sit down with them. So they just sit down and talk. It was the three of them. Of course, it was Brandon, Buffy, and Malaysia. Um, and they were just talking, chit chatting. Of course, Malaysia and Duffy originally was speaking in reference to his Malaysia date and things to that nature. And Malaysia was like, we'll talk about it later. So then Brenda says that she feels that something is off. And Malaysia was like, yeah, it is. She said, pretty much you hurt my feelings. You really did. You hurt my feelings. The last time we spoke, how close we were. And then of course Duffy leave where the two of them could sit down and talk. So they were talking, and Malaysia kind of spring the question. She was like, well, my ex have sent a cease and desist. He knows all about the fact of me speaking about the child support on the show, and I'm just wondering, did you tell him that? And Brandy immediately says, no, I don't talk to him personally. So I mean, I don't even talk to you, so why would I talk to him? So that kind of give me like the impression like, okay, so maybe you didn't tell him, but maybe you told somebody that you knew would tell him. Like, I don't know. It just seemed a little fishy about it because she made it a point to say, no, I don't talk to him personally. So it almost sounds as though you didn't tell him, but you told somebody that you knew was going to tell him. So we ain't gonna hold you on that, but it just really, really seems as though she knew a little bit more. Um, so then they all sit around and we see where, let me see, we see where Brooke arrived. Now Brooke came in looking flawless as ever, baby. When I tell you, Brooke, yeah, Brooke is a nice looking lady. She is a very nice looking lady. Um, she, I want to say maybe is in her 40s, but she look really, really good. She is someone, she definitely don't look like what she's been through. She came through looking flawless, hair swinging and banging. And they basically all sit around to talk. Of course, everyone is interested in how Brooke has been doing. They asked her, has she spoke with her ex? And she said no. No, I haven't spoke to him. And Brandy then says, well, you owe him a conversation. She was like, I owe him a conversation. And I'm like, okay, really? So Malaysia automatically interjects and she was like, I don't think that you should. And so at first I was like, oh Lord, Malaysia, this is not the way. This is not the way. But then she goes on to saying, and they was like, well, did you wait? And she was like, yeah, I actually waited a year. She said, because I had to figure things out. Because at the end of the day, we didn't divorce because he cheated, because I do realize people make mistakes. We divorced because we couldn't find our way, which was deep. Because people can tell you what you should do, what you could do, and this, that, and the other, but they're not there with you at night. When the party is over, when the lights go down, you have to lay in that bed and think of those years with this person. You have to sit there and think about what your future will look like. You have to think about, what is your next move? And no one can really tell you how to do that, because how you handle something may have worked for you, but it may not work for the next person. So I really think what Malaysia was telling her, that was like some deep words. And I think everybody saw that, especially British, because she was like, she feels now that Malaysia is opening up. So even British was looking at her like, yeah, maybe we can buy, because now she seems more authentic. Excuse me. So, Malaysia was like, yeah, take that time, figure yourself out, and then from there, you'll be able to know what to do. Jen said when she went through a divorce, it was like a slow death. And oh boy, we know that here come Jackie again. Speaking of divorce, how did you feel when he threw that drink in your face? I'm like, oh my God, this woman never seems to amaze me. But I'm assuming this is the reason why she has sticked and stayed on this show since the beginning, is because she TV. She is real TV. I just look at it. Why is she so messy? Like, why is she so messy? And so everybody looking like, what? Why would you say that? It was just like, seemed like it was just so far fetched, and it was like you reaching for real. Like your mess then went to a whole nother level. Um, and so then we get into, they go into dancing, and asks, Duffy asks about her man. She tells her that she met his parents, and basically she said, girl, it was something. These people trying to get me pregnant and everything else. And so they all laughing and talking. Then we see where Jackie actually joins. Let me go down a little bit here. We see where Jackie actually joined. We see that's Malaysian British. That's them, y'all. Hold on. I think I had then got ahead of myself. Anyways, Jackie and British meet outside, and basically she was saying that she would like to take Malaysia and British for drinks so they can talk. And British was like, of course we'll see. We'll see where everything go, and we'll see if we can, work everything out. And I don't think that British is opposed to it at this point, because she is seeing another side of Malaysia at this point. Um, then we move on to where we see uh all right. So the next day, so pretty much they all meet together. They wind up toasting to one another to the good night. Everyone's, has been partying, had a good time. I'm really, really glad they did take Brooke out. It seemed as though she enjoyed herself, but then here comes the next morning, similar to what I was just saying. When the dust clears, the party is over. A lot of times we have to go home and deal with that pain by ourselves. So we then see where she gets a call from Steve. Um, and basically he's asking her, did you get the flowers that I sent you? And she was like, yeah. And she said that, you know, she's just trying to put everything in place. She's trying to get her mind together. He is saying that he don't like the distance between them, but she tells him, this is what I need right now for me, to keep myself together. This is what I need. And during this time that they're filming, I don't believe that her daughter had passed as of yet, but my heart goes out to Brooke, because not only was she dealing with a divorce, but then we know months later her daughter passes in a car accident. So I just can't even imagine how much she actually went through. But he is saying that he want to make it work, say he's willing to go to counseling, and basically she tells him outright, I don't know if we can survive this. And he says that he apologizes for everything. He hate to see her going through this, he hate to see her like this. And basically she just says, I just don't know. And to me it seems as though she has already made up her mind already, but I think she's still a little unsure. But at the end all, I think she's pretty much kind of made up her mind. So then we go on to see where Malaysia and British meet up with Jackie for drinks. And They all sit down, they talk about the party. Malaysia says that, you really let your hair down last night, huh? And we all know that Jackie can let her hair down and get with it. British says that Jackie, you can be a little pushy. And so basically they go into talking about the dating life. British explains, well, I'm just trying to be a hoe. Just period. And Malaysia was like, okay, so what is your meaning of being a hoe? She was like, I deal with him if I deal with him. If I don't, I don't. And then she asked Malaysia, well, are you dating? She said, that's a story for another time. And she kind of like left it at that. Then Jackie interferes and says, well, British, you shouldn't be doing all that. You need to, your body is your temple, just acting like the mommy role. Now, Jackie, if you going to hang with these young girls, you can't be over there trying to play Claire Huxtable. Come on now. You got to get it together. You can't be playing Claire Huxtable and then the next minute you over there acting like Cardi B. Make up your mind. Which side of the fence you on? And so British was like, Jackie, you be need to mind your business. And Jackie was like, well, and she was like, I think, we all agree that you just be bored. I be bored. I be bored. She was like, well, who else say that I'm bored? So then she goes to call Jen. Of course, Jen didn't answer the phone. So then Rich was like, well, let me call him. And I'm saying to myself, oh Lord, if Jen answers this phone, that's gonna be a whole nother problem. So of course, Jen answers the phone for British and they ask the question. And basically Jen says that Jackie can be, in people business, but she don't think that she has bad intentions. But she can tend to butt in at the wrong time. So baby, she got real offended. Um, you kind of see where Malaysia and Jen kind of pass a couple of words. Malaysia winds up hanging up in Jen's face. All in all, baby, Jackie goes off in the end where she says, I'm bored. They say I'm bored because I have a family. My sex life is bomb. I got everything I want, everything I need, and can't no bitch stand next to me. And baby, I mean, it was just a whole big ordeal, baby. She went off. But anyways, that's pretty much where it ended at, child. You could tell that this season is going to be quite adventurous, but interesting. I do see where I think Jen and Jackie is gonna probably clash 9 times out of 10 behind that phone call, honey. Um, but it's gonna be real interesting, y'all. I think that these next couple of episodes is gonna be very interesting. I'm not really used to covering Basketball Wives because I had kind of got out of watching it, but I'm gonna hang in there as much as I can. But anyways, y'all, for the replay crew, please go ahead and leave your comments down below about this episode. Did you like it? How would you rate it? I'm rating it about 8.5. It was good, wasn't all that, but we looking at 8.5. But y'all go ahead and rate it. Tell me how you feel about it. Of course, like I always said, if you have any commentary, if you want to share the platform or anything, email me. Of course, all my information is down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell so you'll be notified. If you didn't catch my last video, I did a video in reference to the Texas woman that basically abandoned her kids for months. And we also talked about the Florida rapper that unalived his pregnant girlfriend. So you can catch that in my previous video. But again, y'all, thank you for watching. Please, please, please don't forget to like the video. And again, until next time, stay lit and stay blessed. Bye-bye.